Wait a minute, isn't ketamine just a party drug that you snort? No. Welcome back to Ketamine Connections. Today's going to be a quickie episode to talk about how ketamine is administered. And as you just heard, yes, party drug out in the wild in a recreational setting is definitely one of the ways to consume ketamine. I will address that later in the episode. And as you may already know from listening to previous episodes, or maybe the trailer or reading the description, what we are discussing here at Ketamine Connections is using ketamine with intention and using it for therapeutic benefits. So while there are, in my opinion, therapeutic benefits to recreational substance use that is fun, I am not discussing that here in a specific way. So let's talk about how ketamine is administered in a clinical setting, which is the setting that I work in as your ketamine coach. So let's talk about how you can encounter ketamine in a clinical controlled setting. The setting that is, I think, most common is the at-home ketamine treatments. Mindbloom is the leader of that movement with the ketamine program that they offer. There are many more now that are offering at-home ketamine. And so when we're talking about at-home ketamine, how can ketamine be administered at home? It is administered at home by shipping what are called sublingual ketamine tablets, also known as troches, to the client's house. So the troche is a little pill that is pre-dosed. So it has the dosage that the client is going to use. And what happens is when they are getting ready to go into their journey, they put the troche underneath the tongue, so sublingual underneath the tongue, and they let it dissolve there. And then they are advised to spit out any of the residue, to not swallow it, because there is concern that it might cause nausea. Now, I know that there are people that will swallow it, people that won't swallow the residue from the melting of the troche, and that's something that is entirely up to you. I know that pretty much every recommendation that I've come across says to spit it out. And I also know that in my personal experience with troches, I have never spat it out because I'm someone who wants as much of the dose as possible, because one of the things about troche use is that it is one of the lowest doses of ketamine that is available in the clinical setting. Now, let's talk about the benefits and not benefits of using the sublingual administration, the troches, the lozenges. One of the positives I would say about this is that I do talk to clients who have fear of needles, that don't like something that is invasive like that. And so this is a great opportunity. No. Advantage? No. What's the word I'm looking for? Option. There we go. This is a great option for people that don't like needles, don't want to go through that. It's easy to use and it's fast. Like it hits pretty fast, not as fast as some of the other methods that I'll talk about, but it does go on pretty fast. Now, one of the cons to that is because you are taking it orally, it can have a bitter taste. It tastes like medicine. Like it tastes like icky, nasty, gross medicine, in my opinion. Maybe they have flavored ones. I don't know. Someone let me know if they have flavored troches out there for ketamine use. And the other thing is that this is one of the lower bioavailabilities of ketamine. So there's going to be a different dosage with every type of ketamine that is offered, every type of administration of ketamine that is offered. And then also with just the effects of it are going to be really different. Let's talk about what I think is the second up from there, which is intramuscular. So intramuscular injection of ketamine this is exactly what it sounds like. It is an injection into a muscle, usually the arm. And that's what I've always experienced with intramuscular. And it comes on faster, a little bit faster than the sublingual, because it goes right into the system. And so it's quick administration. It comes on quickly, right? And then it creates what I like to call like a bell curve line. So it's like it is administered, you go up in your journey, you go up in your experience, you peak, and then you start coming down, and then it wears off. Now, one of the benefits of that, one of the pros of intramuscular is that it's less likely to take someone out for the whole day, meaning the come down from an IM form of ketamine, it tends to be slightly lesser than IV because it's just a different experience and it's different the way that the body processes it. I think that's a benefit of intramuscular is that you can have more of your day after the experience than with IV. However, because of the way that it kind of goes up and then comes down, there's less control over the dosage of the IM, and it's kind of like the ride you're on is the ride you're on. I know that there are clinics that are re-upping, so there's clinics that are offering, like you get your initial injection and then maybe you come up and then they know the time frame and they're like, hey, do you want to go deeper? Do you want to go wherever, like go deeper into this experience, and they'll maybe do another IM, and that could be repeated as many times as whatever service is being provided. The facilitator, the administrator of the ketamine is the one that is in control of the journey here. So that's a way to kind of keep it going. But IM is one of the more popular in clinic settings for ketamine use. And then the other one that I will talk about is IV, and ketamine IV infusion. And so that is what happens with the ketamine IV infusion is that the ketamine is, so you're hooked up, you have an IV usually like in your hand, in your arm somewhere, if you're familiar with an IV drip. So you get hooked up to a machine, and that machine doses out the ketamine over the duration of the infusion. And usually infusions are anywhere from like 30 to 60 minutes, depending on the clinic. The onset of the effects of ketamine are definitely faster than sublingual, definitely faster than IM, and the dosage tends to be more precise. So instead of like with IM, you're like, I'm up and now I'm down. With IV, it's more like, it's like almost getting to like a plateau, or what is it called in the desert? A mesa, climbing up to a mesa where you like climb up and then you're like here, and then you start to come down. And that is because the IV machine, the infusion machine, is dosing out the ketamine over time. Now, some of the pros of this is that it does tend to lead to deeper journeys. The onset effects are really quick, and the efficacy of it tends to be like, these are like the higher, what is it called, like intensity journeys. And because of all of that, some of the cons with this form, with the IV method, is, you do require a little bit more supervision sometimes. A lot of clinics will check in on patients throughout the IV process at least once or twice to make sure that everything is going accordingly. And then there's also, from what I mentioned earlier when I was talking about sublinguals, this is the more invasive method. And so some people that are not into needles don't want that invasive setting. That's going to be a deterrent for them. And okay, I'll give you one more bonus of how ketamine can be administered, and that is nasal spray. There is a nasal spray that is federally approved. It's called Spravato, and it's yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's like the little plastic thing, and it's got the little like tapered tip, and you stick it in your nose and you go, and you just take anywhere from 2 to 4 sprays. And it is a way of consuming ketamine that is at-home ketamine, kind of like the sublinguals, even though those are more monitored than the Spravato. And it's a low dose. This is the lowest dose of what I've been talking about here between sublinguals, intramuscular, and intravenous. The nasal spray is the lowest dosage of ketamine. And that could be a pro or a con. I know that I have personally used Spravato as sort of like a microdose of ketamine. I have been using it to work in to get deeper into meditations. And so if those are settings where I actually want a lower dose of ketamine. And the other pro to that is that it's completely non-invasive. It's relatively easy to use. The onset is really quick. And then it's just kind of like it wears off really quickly and doesn't take you out for your whole day like could happen with an IV. So as I mentioned in the intro, ketamine can be a party drug. You know, you might see it out at a rave or a festival or things like that. That is definitely a setting where ketamine is present. And that is, again, not what I'm covering on this podcast. I would say with everything happening in the world, you want to know that your ketamine is safe. You want to know that there's no fillers or mixers or anything in there. And that is why I will always advocate for using ketamine in a clinical supervised setting, because that is the way to make sure that the ketamine really has the best effects when you're using it for therapeutics. And that is all that I have for you today. I just wanted to kind of jump in and let you know how ketamine is administered. Again, this is a podcast to answer all of the common questions. This is a question that I've gotten a lot. As far as how to choose the method that is right for you, that is going to depend on a lot of factors. So one of the factors is, again, if you are anti-needles, like no way, Jose, not doing it, then you're not going to want an IM or an IV ketamine experience. You'll go for sublingual or the nasal spray, right? If you are someone that is, experienced with psychedelics and like, put me in, coach, like I want to go on a journey, IV is probably going to be the option for you, because that does tend to lead to the more intense journeys. So it depends on your goals, it depends on your preferences, and it depends on availability, right? Not all forms are available everywhere in the country. So you want to check in with what are the clinics in your area offering. Is at-home ketamine just more convenient for your lifestyle? Also more cost effective. I would say cost is definitely something else to consider when you're going into considering which ketamine therapy is right for you. And if you have any questions or anything like that as far as which one to go with, I'm happy to answer questions. I'm never going to tell you which one to do. I ask clients all the time of like, well, which one do you feel called to? Which one is speaking to you? Which one feels like the right choice for you? That's always going to be my answer if you're looking for me to tell you which one to do. But hopefully this podcast episode has provided a little bit of insight, so you have a little bit more considerations when you are to take into your decision-making process. And if there are further questions, you are so welcome to reach out to me on Instagram. Just shoot me a DM. Let me know that you listened to this episode. Let me know what your questions are, whether it's something from this episode or other questions that you want answered. I love answering questions. I'm so grateful for your attention and your curiosity. And I'm so excited that you're here on this journey to bring the common questions that people have about ketamine out into the wild, into the world. And that is all I have for you today. See you next time. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Ketamine Connections. I hope you found our discussion insightful and empowering. Remember that understanding the subconscious mind and how to make the most of ketamine therapy can truly transform someone's healing journey. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to share it with your friends and family and anyone who might benefit from this information. So few people considering ketamine therapy are fully educated about its potential and the impact that it has on the subconscious mind. Your share could be the key element to their transformation. Don't forget to subscribe to Ketamine Connections so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I absolutely adore reading your reviews. So your feedback really helps me feel like this is an engaging exercise. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm talking into empty internet space. So your review really helps light me up and also helps me reach more audience. So I would appreciate one if you're willing. And please use the link below to submit any questions or topics that you would like covered. I cannot wait to hear from you and to co-create this journey together. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and embrace the possibilities that are available in this moment right here, right now. Thanks so much. See you next time on Ketamine Connections.